Back here with Coach Hourigan as we talk about some of the younger guys who are now in the Husky program. Coach, just kind of give us a rundown of some of these new guys that the fans can expect to see.
Sure. Well, I'll start you off with the older one, our junior college transfer, Isaac Feldstein. Coach McDonald's done an awesome job of keeping that California connection going, and we brought in a guy that's an athletic kid who can run, plays the outfield, but he's got a lot of power. I'm not going to say I'm not going to say he's Duff's power, but pretty close. He's got a lot of power, and he did some exciting things for us this fall, and he's having a nice preseason. And if we can find some consistency, he's going to be a guy that can help us right in the middle of the order. Hit a lot of extra base hits, and also, like I said, he's got some speed, and I think he's got some good feel and instincts on the bases where maybe he can steal some bags as well. For the younger guys, the freshmen, it's an exciting group, and coming into the fall, my goal for them was to teach them how to work at the college level, teach them how to develop a routine and go about their business so they're prepared every day. And to be honest with you, that was really easy for me. This group really enjoys getting better. They work really hard. I mean, I don't have to get on them at all. It's a very motivated group, so that's very exciting. From the infield, Anthony Prado has been looking very good at shortstop. And from an offensive standpoint, I see him as a kid who just has a very mature approach already as a young guy. He's not trying to do too much at the plate, which is really hard for a young player to do. Even a senior, it's hard to do. But he knows himself, and he's again he's willing to take whatever the opposition is giving him. So if the pitchers are going to throw him away, he's going to take his single to right, and then he's going to use his speed. Connor Moriarty, another infielder who's done an outstanding job. High energy kid, a lot of speed, great bat speed at the plate. He provides a lot of athleticism for us, and that great energy, which is a team always needs. He had a nice fall, and he's had a really nice winter so far, hitting the ball really hard. And we're working at little things here and there in terms of putting the ball in play a little bit more with 2 strikes. But again, I go back to these guys really like to work hard, and they're going to make adjustments. Behind the plate, Kenny Bergman has really shown well with the bat, and he works extremely hard on the catching. But his bat right now is exciting. Kenny is a guy that consistently is making some loud outs. If he is getting out, everything's usually hit hard on a line, and he's had a really nice preseason. Chris Winkle is a guy that we're kind of he's gonna bounce back and forth. We could use him at first base. He's 6'4", but we've also been getting him a lot of reps in the outfield because he's got a ton of speed and athleticism. And left-handed hitter, and he's really done a nice job. The fall for most of the freshmen usually it's a tough thing, but he's really adjusted. Works extremely hard, hits after practice, does all the right things, and I think his swing is really starting to find its groove. So he's been very good. Anthony Nucerino, another outfielder, left-handed hitter, just a tough kid, a football player, running back in high school. He can really go get it in the outfield, but he's also had a ton of quality at bats this winter. Kind of asked him to make an adjustment with his mechanics in terms of how he loads his body, and that's taken some time to come along, but it really started to click yesterday in our practice, so I'm excited for him. Josh Loeffler is another outfielder. He struggled a little bit with the bat in the fall, but he's actually been very good this winter, swinging the bat really well, giving good at bats. So, and again, another guy with some speed. All those freshmen that I've mentioned, they really can run, and it just adds another dimension to what we're doing. Ben Maycock, big strong kid, another outfielder, first baseman who can move him around, but a lot of athleticism. You know, he has that Joe Duffin power from the left side of the plate. And we're trying to just tone Ben down at times. Sometimes he's trying a little too hard, but if he can let the game come to him, he's going to be a really good player. So I think that's it. But again, this is it's an exciting group. And as I touched upon in the beginning, they know how to work. And I think our older guys have done a really good job of embracing them and trying to bring them up to speed, because I think if we're going to be successful this year, we're going to have to get some good performances from some young guys.
Let's quickly just talk about candidates for position battles. First off the bat, you lose a guy like Bobby Melly, who had such a great career here. We saw Tyler play some first base when Bobby was out in the conference tournament. Who are some candidates? You mentioned Winkle as well, candidates for first base. Yeah,
I mean, it's a guy that I didn't even touch upon, Jack Lambrick. He's a returning guy, but a new guy. He's had a tough road with some really tough injuries, but he's been outstanding. I mean, the kid has really swung the bat. He's so versatile. We could put him as short, third, second, first base. I mean, I could throw him in the outfield if I had to. You know, he's just had a tough time with some injuries, but he's a guy that when he's healthy, he could be right in the mix for first base, especially the way he's been swinging it. Obviously, Tyler is a veteran who's going to give you a great at-bat. He knows the game, so when he's over at first base, he can kind of settle the rest of the infielders down. He understands what has to happen out there. Chris Winkle, we talked about, just a awesome target, 6'4", and I think he actually has the highest vertical on the team. So I think as an infielder, you're not really worried about making a high throw. But I think all of them have some great attributes, and you know, the good thing that we have this year is I think we just have a lot of options, and you know, I don't know how it's going to shake out, but I like that we have that depth.
You talk about depth. The outfield has a lot of depth out there. The only guy that's really solidified himself is John Topa after his freshman season. Can you talk about some of the candidates out there in the outfield, especially in center field, replacing a guy like Jack Sundberg?
Yeah, sure. You know, Troy Stefanski is a guy that's, you know, he's really made a good push right here. He's got a great arm. You know, he does have our best arm in the outfield. Played the corner last year, was a right fielder when he was healthy. But he has the ability. He has the ability to play center field, and you know, he's shown that he'll be in the mix to get out there in center. Keith Kruger is a guy that a senior who is an unbelievable teammate, brings great energy to what we're doing. A good runner. You know, he's a guy that's going to be the mix out there. From an offensive standpoint for Keith and Troy, it's the ability to put the ball in play and utilize those wheels. So those two guys are in the mix to play center field. But you know, Chris, I'll be honest with you. I think there's a lot of guys. Chris Winkle's a guy that I'm going to want to see what he can do in center field. Connor Moriarty is a guy we mentioned that plays the infield, but you know, he's got great instincts out there. He's a guy that if he's swinging it really well, and let's say Anthony or Aaron are playing great in the middle, well, we've got to find a way to get Connor out there. And he played a little bit of center field in high school, so he's a guy in the mix. Isaac Feldstein is a good athlete. You know, I know he could play the corners, but you know, again, he might be a guy in center field. It's wide open, and I think we're going to learn a lot in the early season, and I think we're going to move some guys around until we find what works best for us.
And finally, the shortstop position, two uber-talented freshmen battling it out. Can you just talk a little bit about what they've brought to the group so far?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Anthony is recruiting Anthony, I got to see him a lot, and I think when people watch him play this year, you know, you'll go through the first maybe weekend seeing him play, and he might not jump out to the average fan. But the more you watch that kid play, you realize how steady he is, how mature he is. and also how athletic he is. But there's not much flash to what he does. It's a very steady player that has the ability to slow the game down for a young guy. So I love watching him play the game. Connor Moriarty, again, he's a guy, when you come out and watch it, he's going to be a guy that might jump out at you at first because, you know, he's got the great arm. He just he looks the part, and he's got excellent range. But both of those guys are exciting players, and they had some great coaching before they got here, and you can really tell because they're able to slow the game down. They throw behind runners, which for a freshman, you know, the play's never over. And usually for a freshman, it's like, okay, I made the play, let's move on to the next one. They are more like, can I get another out? You know, and I love that mentality by those guys. So that's going to serve them really well. You know, I think we have great options. And then you have Willie at third base, and you have Aaron at second base. So there's a lot of experience right there, and I think they'll be able to help those two guys come along. And I gotta mention Jack Lambrick. Even though we've been focusing his reps more at first base, I mean, the kid can, again, he could play shortstop. He can play anywhere on the diamond, and he brings that maturity and athleticism as well.